So Chris, you're a JIT engineer on the Twitter VM team.
That's
Can
correct.
you tell us how do you use Graal at Twitter?
So the answer is very simple. We just turn it on. That's oversimplifying the situation. But so there are existing JIT compilers in Hotspot in the JVM, and we just replaced C2, which is the top level peak performance compiler in the JVM, with Graal. And then what we get out of this is it produces better code for us. And so we are saving CPU utilization or reducing it, and by that we are saving money. So that's what we do.
Okay, cool. So since you work on Graal, have you found any problem with it? It still can be dubbed as experimental. Do you think it's production ready, stable enough? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so Oracle has put Graal into JDK 10 as experimental JIT compiler. So yes, it's still experimental, and also the way we use it is kind of experimental because we use it on Java 8. But at the same time, it's very mature. We found a couple bugs when we started using it. They were kind of related to things we were using, like agents, bytecode instrumentation, some real compiler bugs that were found, but that's already, I think the last bug we found about 2 years ago. And since then, we just run Graal in production. Many of our services run on Graal in production 100% for over a year. It runs fine. I think it's mature. There's still the possibility that if you run new code that's never been run on Graal before, or a certain way of starting up an application or using additional tools that we haven't thought of yet, might still find some bugs, yes, but in general, I would say very mature, yeah.
Okay, so the more exposure Graal gets, the better by people. So
absolutely.
Okay, so
yeah.
It's like a request for using it as much as you can.
That's why I'm going to all the conferences like this one and telling people about our experience, because it's literally, we are saving so much money that, we're saving so much more money per year than I get paid, for example. So it's a big amount. It's not like a tiny little bit, $1,000. It's like a huge amount of money. And other people can have that advantage too. And so I'm traveling around to all these conferences and telling people about the advantages that we are seeing. Also, of course, as a self-serving, because I want people to give it more, as you said, more exposure and run more code in it, find more bugs, make it even more mature. Because now, so that Graal could become the default compiler in OpenJDK, let's say, we have to show to Oracle, I would say, that it's ready to be used.
Right.
And so
you can only show example of Graal usages and to convince Oracle.
So is it? Yeah, exactly.
Can you go into a little bit of details of how Graal can save the CPU time that you said before?
Sure. So for us at Twitter, I have to point this out. So most of our services are running or written in Scala. So for Scala code, Graal is very good. It can optimize Scala code very nicely. And there are two main reasons why this is happening. Number one is the inlining is better in Graal. Like the implementation is just more, better is, I don't really want to say better, it's just different. The way it's implemented, it's different. It doesn't have so much heuristics and restrictions than C2. And then there is another slightly newer, and this one's actually really better, escape analysis implementation. So Graal has something called partial escape analysis, and you can read up what that is on Wikipedia if you want. And it just has the ability to eliminate more objects than just a regular escape analysis implementation. And that's how we reduce our CPU.
Yeah, so basically Graal generates less machine code, and so the CPU has to run less code to execute the same Java code.
Correct. Yes.
Okay,
absolutely.
so that's
correct.
where you save CPU.
And it also reduces the memory usage on the Java heap slightly. So that means the time between GC cycles is longer, and you save there as well.
And this is because of escape analysis. So less
Partly,
objects
yes.
are generated. Okay.
Inlining and escape analysis, that too.
Both together.
Yes.
Oh, very nice. that's, I don't know, you have something else to add on it? Do you have any insights on future things that are cooking in Graal, like new things, new features? And stuff?
Well, I was never part of the Graal project directly or any other Oracle Labs related projects, but people know. I mean, there has been the Graal VM announcement, and since then, people are trying left and right the cool things they have. Truffle is around for a very long time already. A lot of people use Truffle to implement their languages. There are very good projects out there. Oracle itself did JavaScript, right? And then they also did Ruby, which is part of JRuby, and so on and so on. And then I think what most people are interested in right now is Substrate VM, the native image compilation to compile it down into an executable, basically, which runs very quickly, you have very fast startup times. It just has a very limited scope where you can use it. It should be short-running applications, right? If you have some, like we at Twitter, we can't use Substrate VM really because we have long-running services, days, months. So we can't use that, but for short-running services or even command line tools, it's perfect.
Nice. Thank you.
Well, thank you.